Welcome to the Megaphone Show. I am your host, Allie, and each of these episodes is going to cover an inquiry into our collective condition that I think needs major rehabilitation. Major. Do I have all of the answers? No, but I have some. And I think a great place to start is with the boiling frog effect. Before I get into that, though I think plenty of us know what that metaphor is, I have a question, which is what is the point of making space? Women, or pretty much anyone who's not a straight man, has to make space for everyone else. And men are never held accountable to do that. And I hate to speak in zero sum here, but it's true. Even though they're the primary ones who could be our biggest cheerleaders and advocates, and in some instances they are, I deeply and greatly appreciate and respect the men in my life who consistently make an effort to not only get out of my way, but to truly see me for the person that I am. But regardless, I know the importance that this conversation is because harmony is needed here. Genders, however constructed they are, we need to coexist together. So, if I'm honest, I'm super exhausted with being the bigger person and making the room or being the understanding one or giving the benefit of the doubt because it's constantly reaching over the side of the aisle to accommodate, which is hardly, if ever, reciprocated back. And it makes sense that someone would get fatigued over that. And so I think about instances like this, whether it's my own personal experiences or experiences that I observe on behalf of others or that I've observed through literature. And I always come back to the central question of how did we get here? And what is the process of that kind of dehumanization that we are experiencing from our fellow constituents? Because it seems like we've been in this boiling frog metaphor for a while. And we've allowed this water to get warmer and warmer without noticing that something is very wrong. And so I think I struggle to have any more patience in a way that it's time to start talking about these things in greater depth with philosophical insight, with insight into my professional career as a marketer, with my experience as a woman, as a lesbian woman. There's a lot, I think, there that creates complementary undertones to the conversation while also being personally very bold in spirit. And I like to be a megaphone on behalf of myself and the advocacy of others where it matters and when things need to be said. And I have a very vengeful view on justice. I believe that there is an eye for an eye. And we've had such inequity in an uneven playing field. The waters have become so muddied on how we could even implement a type of equity, such as an eye for an eye. But it must be so because we have so much at stake. There is so much going on in the world, regardless of if you look at it through the lens of the right or the left, from a man or a woman, spiritual or non-spiritual. And if you are observing this world and its reality at all, it is extremely easy to see that things are not good. And that doesn't mean that they won't become good, but what does the path of that look like? How do we get from where we are now to a place in the future that is better? And what sort of growing pains or pain points are we all going to collectively experience along the way? And what's necessary in that? I would call myself a retired participant in political thinking, where I think that there is so much manipulation and biased opinions and psychological operations within psychological operations that impact so much of our spectrum of what we consume. And so I find it more important than ever that our personal discernment comes from a true place of internal wisdom compounded by life experience. So these are the things that are keeping me up at night, honestly. The things that I think require our attention, our critical thinking, our ethical sobriety, so that we can make decisions as a collective that guide us towards a common goal. And I think that there is a more positive outlook that as a collective, we all kind of want the same things, known as like a good, peaceful life. As in, like, not every day has to be a manic high, but that we all generally believe as beings, not even human beings, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, but just as beings in general that exist or sentient, that we have a lot of our free will taken from us. And not all of it, but I think a lot of it. And I think we generally just want to have some control of our lives. And that's part of the boiling frog that they've allowed for this sort of effect. You'll own nothing and be happy because at least you'll be safe, at least you'll be healthy. So you won't complain about the amount of rights that have been stripped away from you because we've made it so miserable for you for the majority of your life, but that by the time that you actually catch a breath, it will feel like a relief versus an insult. And so it's what I'm experiencing at the macro and the micro cosmic levels. It's these breadcrumbs that they give you, whether you're a queer person or just a person at all. I mean, anybody can relate to being employed. And it's not about oppression Olympics or whether you're offending somebody or not. But the differences exist. But even in all of that, we can all collectively feel what it feels like to be taken advantage of, to be underpaid, not seen for our efforts, not appreciated for our creativity. And it wears on you over time, especially when you come into the situation where you're just like genuinely trying to show up with an open heart and give it your all, and you get this sort of inhumane, horrible, gut-wrenching treatment. And I think where we genuinely show up without motive, outside of wanting to like pay our bills and have some fun on the weekends, it's that boiling effect, like that we're asking so little for our own lives. And yet this is the sort of treatment we have. And I bring this in there because I think it's important, whether you're a woman experiencing like more collective rage on behalf of women entirely, or on behalf of the collective entirely, and you feel like you're holding that weight more than men, or men, you feel like you're, spinning your wheels with the way that you're trying to show up for the people in your life, and you're genuinely like confused and upset for why you're not getting it. I think that there's a message in here for everybody in that. And a lot of what we even want is not even available to us now. And so I think that we all can understand and relate to feeling restless, getting frustrated. And I think as a woman, as a lesbian woman, I've hit my limit in a way that I have such little tolerance for certain behaviors anymore. And whether it's behavior from the elite, from my fellow constituents of life, from certain women, from certain men, and it's becoming apparent more now than ever of the people who don't care because it doesn't affect them. And we just need people to, like give a shit a little bit more. And it's a balance. We can't have people giving a shit about everything all the time. That's exhausting, and that will bring on chronic illness and different things that, are not necessary. But, whether you're looking at these ancient spiritual or historical texts, you bring that to modern day, you talk to people empirically about their lives, you can deduce regardless that life is on a spectrum. And the more that we try to like toss something in a bucket here or there, it kind of plays into this very pre-programmed mindset that has been conditioned on us. And the more we allow this sort of like binary behavior of like, it's not this, it's got to be this, the more we'll continue to radicalize ourselves into a place with no return in our lifetime. And I find that to be concerning. Very concerning. So now that I've hyped you up for the rest of your day, I leave you to ask yourselves this. What are the areas in your life that you are slowly being boiled in? Tell me in the comments. And if you like this video, I ask you as a small and a new creator to please like the video and bring it to more people. And if you want to see more content like this, then just subscribe, please, because there is a whole lot more where this came from. Thanks.